Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to Coruscant Radio Underground. I am Andrew, and with me are a couple of people that I don't know if you've ever seen on the YouTube channel. You've heard them on the Padawan Report. Iana and Adeline.
Hi.
And they're going to be joining me some. We're going to be kind of relaunching the Padawan Report. They're kind of talking about doing some stuff on their own as well, so stay tuned for that. Let's see, what all do we have going on? So as far as tonight goes, we're going to be doing our spoiler discussion of episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, as well as giving the Padawans a chance to talk a little bit about their thoughts about the series as a whole so far. Marisha is gone. She will be gone. She'll miss tomorrow's episode, she'll miss next week's episode, and then she'll be back for the last 3 episodes. So Iana is going to be filling in with me some. I believe tomorrow night we'll be doing our post-show immediate reaction with guests from the Red 5 Network. So stay tuned. I don't even know yet who's going to show up for that. Lots of stuff coming up over the next week. A week from tonight, we have our Festivus airing of the Grievances. Is an annual thing we do here on the Science Fictionary. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to do my review of episode 3 as we go here. But I want to start off by letting Ian and Adeline get their say in on what they think about episodes 1 and 2. Before I go any further, Spencer, welcome to the chat. Thanks for dropping in. All right, so we've seen 3 episodes. What do y'all think so far?
It's probably my favorite Star Wars related thing
since The Mandalorian.
No,
maybe not.
Before The Mandalorian, honestly.
That's fair. It's not uncommon. I've actually heard a lot of that. Isaac, thanks for dropping in the chat. So Iana, do you think this is your favorite thing on TV, or like your favorite Star Wars thing like since what?
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest, and probably my favorite Star Wars thing since Rebels, which it's been a while,
Okay.
But like haven't really cared about
Like, would you put
Star
this
Wars.
over like a lot of the movies? And
I really like Rogue One, but this is more fun.
okay, you're right. And this is really geared towards kids more than a lot of the stuff we've gotten has been. I mean, y'all didn't even make it through the Acolyte. Y'all,
yeah,
I've said on here a few times, y'all pieced out.
One episode in.
Y'all pieced out after the first episode.
Yeah, we just watched it and then we were like, well, that was fun, I guess.
Iana goes, are they doing the evil twin trope? And as soon as they did it, I just heard you sigh from across the room. And
I was kind of proud of myself for getting it.
It was pretty obvious, I felt like.
I don't think we ever finished. What is the character from Rogue One's name again that had his own show?
Andor.
We never finished Andor. We only got like 1 episode into that as well.
We will try finishing Andor. I'm not going to blame you a lot for not finishing Andor, except that the last 5 episodes are totally worth watching. So we'll do that.
Yeah.
So Spencer said, "Don't he didn't blame y'all for skipping the Acolyte." I suffered through it for us all. But let's see. So Adeline, what about you?
I really liked it. It was one of my favorite Star Wars shows, probably since what's the show called? I can't even remember anymore. The one that Iana just said.
Rebels.
Yeah. Since Rebels as well.
Rebels is what y'all grew up on. Y'all are the right age.
Rebels is my Star Wars.
Rebels is your Star Wars. Rebels wasn't your first Star Wars per se. I mean, y'all were introduced to the movies pretty early, but honestly, y'all probably remembered more Rebels early on because you were introduced to it all so early. I would say that Rebels is where y'all fell in love with Star Wars.
Yeah,
definitely, because I remember
she watched Droids in Distress like on repeat.
It's not even that good of an episode.
No, I watched it recently. I'm like, this is so boring.
Yeah, so like people always, but it was one of the things that was always intriguing about watching Rebels with y'all as kids, and it's one of the things that I've always come back to is watching Star Wars with y'all, is that y'all react to it differently than I do, or even a lot of the people I interact with online. And there were episodes of Rebels that y'all loved and would watch over and over and over again, and they were the episodes that most adults were like, "That was terrible." Space Whales, for instance.
The Space Whales are great.
I love the space
Space whales are great, but most, like a lot of old time fans were like, "Man, they're getting kind of crazy. It's like space whales and stuff
I
now." And
love
y'all are like,
space
"I'm going to
whales.
watch this space whale episode over and over and over again." So it's watching y'all watch Star Wars has been very eye opening for giving me an insight into a different, gives me a different outlook on Star Wars.
Yeah. So like when you grow up and you like, I heard a lot of people like grow up and they like play Star Wars with their friends and stuff. The one we always did was Rebels. We always did Rebels with the cousins. So
Mm.
that's always what I remembered like
Mhm.
doing.
Right.
Mm.
All right. So y'all both really like this. I'm getting the impression. So the closest thing to this in the Disney era is probably Rebels and Clone Wars,
Mhm.
at least late era Clone Wars,
Mhm.
and then Mando.
I like
So
that.
are y'all
Yes.
putting this over? Is this has the crew of the what is the name? Is it the Onyx Cinder? Is that
I
the name
don't
of our
remember
ship?
at all.
Has our new crew, the skeleton crew, have they supplanted Grogu for you?
I don't know if I can
Or do you
legally-
just need Grogu to join the
Yes.
skeleton crew?
That'd be an ideal option. I
Yes.
don't think I can legally put them above Grogu. Like, I don't think you.
I don't think
just
you can do that. I
because-
don't think that's allowed.
But I think it's fair to say, and I want to know what y'all think. I think it's fair to say, so in a lot of ways, so if we look at the original 3 movies,
Mhm.
and then we look at things, so like the cantina scene, the classic, really classic Star Wars scenes outside of like your big battles, like
Yeah.
the cantina scene, in Return of the Jedi, Jabba's palace, this is the most like those things, right? This is
Yeah.
taking that very cool, kind of crazy, wacky, alien
Yeah.
filled. I think this is the one that's the most like Return of the Jedi in a lot
Yeah.
of ways, with Ewoks and Jabba's palace and those things, not with the Darth Vader fight and all that, but the kind of the
More like
almost sillier side of Star Wars.
I
yeah.
mean, that's what my favorite part is because I just like fun stuff. I like it's if I want to enjoy watching it.
Right.
Like
I don't
stuff
really
like what is the name of Rogue One? Like Rogue One's awesome. It's cool. It's really interesting, but it's not really silly.
No, there's
can't-
nothing. It loses
yeah.
that part of Star Wars.
I always
Because like people forget, like even Empire Strikes Back. I mean, most people would agree that like technically Empire Strikes Back is probably the most well-made Star Wars movie. I would say it still is. I don't think anything's really rivaled it. It's really rarely the one I list as my favorite. I usually say either A New Hope or Return of the Jedi for various reasons. But Empire is a extraordinarily well-made movie, but it still has that little bit of silliness in it. R2 getting spit out by a swamp creature, Yoda pretending to be an idiot from the swamp, all those things. Like it's a more serious movie,
yeah.
but it
It
still
keeps the humor.
but it still has the same humor that we see throughout the others. And of course, Return of the Jedi does more of that than the other two do. At least originally, I think George Lucas added a little more silliness into A New Hope when he redid it, when he did it for the special editions. And I'm not sure. I think y'all have watched the original theatrical cuts.
Possibly.
I have them, and I'm pretty sure we've watched them, but I'm not 100% sure.
I haven't watched any of like the original Star Wars movies like
Well, it's been a
forever.
while. Yeah.
forever. I need to watch them.
Well, we'll watch A New Hope on New Year's Eve and
Oh,
watch
yeah,
the
yeah.
Death Star blow up at midnight.
That's the last time we watched it, actually.
Yeah.
Well, last
year.
New Year's.
Yeah.
It was
we
the year
actually
before
did do
last
this 2 years
year's.
ago. Yeah.
So,
we did it
it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So favorite characters.
Oh Lord. Adeline, you go first.
I don't know. KB's really cool. My favorite, yeah, KB's probably my favorite. I don't really have a favorite yet because we haven't gotten super far into it.
Right.
So, I don't
What
know.
about Neil? I thought y'all were all big
Yes,
fans of
Neil's
Neil.
awesome. I like
But
him.
they're all cool.
They are.
They're all cool for different reasons.
Yeah,
I just
they're so like accurate to how 10-year-olds actually act. And it's so
Well, and
funny
that
to
was the
me.
other thing I wanted to ask you. You know, you're closer to that age. I mean, to me, from my perspective,
Win Max like,
the
exactly like
characters
that,
are well written, and their lines are not like a kid wrote them,
Mhm,
but they're delivered like a kid would deliver them.
mhm,
But they're delivered in an earnest way. It doesn't seem acted. It seems genuine, like it's Neil Nation, Spencer. Yep. Neil
They love
has
and appreciate
definitely
Neil in his
garnered
home.
a real interesting following. But he's different. Like we don't have any characters like Neil. We've very rarely done,
He's just a silly little guy. He's just
but
there.
we've so rarely done aliens
as main characters.
as main characters.
Yeah.
And when we
That's
have,
right,
and when we
actually.
have, they're very humanoid.
Mhm.
That's a
He's
good
less.
point.
He
ve-
is humanoid in some ways, but he's less humanoid than our typical
yeah,
main character
Uh-huh.
alien. Our normal aliens are
like Hera.
well, Hera
Yeah.
or Ahsoka.
Mhm,
They're
like the Twi'leks and stuff.
yeah.
So
So
they're just basically
They're humans.
slightly
They're humans
cooler
with
looking
head tails.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they're colorful humans. With it's like bright orange and green.
let's see. Spencer says the droid and Jude Law are his favorite. So what do y'all think about SM-33?
I love him.
Sneak.
No, he's my favorite character. I changed my mind. I forgot he existed though.
I love him so much.
So that character is definitely one of my favorites. I'm going to talk about that character a little bit when we kind of get to my episode 3 review, and that I'm not sure, like he's not playing a little bit of a game as well. We know that Jod is playing a little bit of a
Yeah.
game. Like
it's very obvious.
he's-
that good.
he's using the children to get to a treasure, and I'm not totally sure that Smee is not
Doing the same.
doing something similar.
That wouldn't surprise. I
Like,
never
that
thought
was-
of that, man.
He's a pirate.
Yeah.
He may be a droid. He's still a pirate.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to see what happens there.
He's so funny to me because it's like he acts like he's serious about everything, but everything that comes out of his mouth is incredibly goofy.
Mhm.
So he's like the comedic relief character while acting serious at the same time, which is kind of impressive.
Right. Characters y'all haven't really talked about. I mean, I would say that largely Wim is our favorite, is our main character. At least he was initially
Yeah.
our main character.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, he doesn't seem like as much as the main character as he did at the beginning.
No,
like-
but think about it this way: like Luke Skywalker was your main character
Mhm.
in A New Hope, but the further we got into the adventure and
That's
the more people we
true.
picked up, the less he became of just the solo main character.
Yeah.
And I think that Wim is very much our Luke Skywalker character. He's kind of he's a younger kid than Luke was when Luke left Tatooine, but he's still kind of wide-eyed, innocent, doesn't know what to expect of the galaxy, and he's just on an adventure, right?
Yeah.
He's just excited to be on the adventure. He's really not even that concerned with going home yet. The others are kind of like, how do we get back home?
Right.
and
He's
he's
the one who
like
wanted to
Jedi.
So far, he hasn't hit a moment where he's like, I want to go home.
Well, he's the one who wanted to leave in the first place. So
Right. So I figure at some point he's going to have his moment where he's going to realize home wasn't so bad, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going back.
I
But
gotta say, he acts exactly like my little brother. He is literally Elijah.
yeah, I mean, I think
Like-
he's kind of a quintessential 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Him and Neil both.
Yeah.
And it's the way they play off of each other, and it's Wim and Fern are definitely more of our main characters, and
Yeah.
the other two are kind of their sidekicks.
Yeah.
I like
The-
KB because
them
he's
two-
And,
really
and
cool.
KB's
design.
kind of the one that like Neil's the one that sometimes tells Wim, hey, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Like, calm down.
Chill.
And then KB's the one that seems to look at Fern and say, "You
Girl,
could be,
chill.
well, you could be nicer."
Yeah.
Like is kind of what we've seen her say
right.
too. But while Wim is, and I don't know if y'all agree, Wim is very much our Luke Skywalker character that's just ready to go on an adventure. And Fern is more of our Han Solo character. She's more cynical about everybody and everything. She expects the worst from everybody in the situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes sense. The more I think about it, the more Wim's
Yeah.
a lot like Luke. I can't say too much about it because once again, haven't watched the original movies a minute.
fair.
But like, there's definitely a lot of parallels. I'm trying to. I'm sorry, my brain stopped working.
So what is your like so far, what are your favorite scenes?
The one where they were escaping from the moon, probably.
Oh, in the new
with-
episode.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree because that one was it was just so good.
So what y'all like about that scene?
I liked it when, well, first of all, Neil trying to fly the thing and almost crashing
Like,
was pretty
up
funny.
and down.
I really loved that Jod basically gives him the controls and just says, just wiggle the controls a little bit. Evade.
And he keeps hitting the he keeps hitting the ground.
He doesn't. I don't know that he hits the
I think
ground
he does,
any.
once, just a little bit. I don't remember.
Well,
It's
when they kind of go down and pull up all the dust is actually Jod flying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part's cool. But also them going and trying to shoot the ships
and
and
literally
failing.
missing every single shot.
The best part was when they're arguing, like, "No, I got the shot. I did it, not you."
Right. And the fact that they actually just shot someone in an X-wing has not occurred to them yet.
Yeah.
And they don't know. I mean, they
Yeah.
don't know. So what do y'all think is going on as far how long do y'all think the planet has been hidden?
Mm,
It
Wha-
seems like it was a while.
A few hundred years, High Republic era, or are we going all the way back to
It's like-
legit Old Republic, like
'cause
over
it
1,000
seems
years?
like everyone is so shocked about it still being there. It feels like it'd be really, really long.
I feel
you know,
like for a planet to fall totally into the
Legend.
category of legend,
yeah, it has to be.
it's got to be over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
For everybody to, because you got to remember, we've got long-lived creatures in this galaxy. We've got creatures like Yoda's race, Maz Kanata, creatures that live like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So I feel like for everyone to have forgotten, and Yoda was definitely a Jedi during the High Republic. So I feel like for it to have completely been forgotten and lost, it's got to be.
I feel like this also has to be more than like 100 years for everyone on the planet to not know anything's up.
Right.
Because I feel like this would have slipped out somehow if it hadn't been hidden for a long, long time. Like,
Yeah.
someone's grandparents or something would know something was up, but since that doesn't seem to be the case.
Right. I mean, now the people on this planet are mostly humans and a few alien species. Like we see
two.
like a painting or something, I don't remember what it was, that shows like some early settlers, and they're
Yeah.
all basically they're humans, they're whatever Neil's species is, and a couple of the others that we see. That's why I don't know if y'all caught it when they go to the pirate.
Yeah, they call them aliens.
They're like, look, aliens, because they've never seen or I guess even heard of these other species in the galaxy. They've only known the ones. So Neil's not an alien because they grew up with Neil, like they know Neil.
Yeah.
But these people, these creatures and species from other planets that they haven't seen, they're aliens.
It really does seem kind of weird to me what information is kept hidden from them and what isn't. Like the fact that they have not seen any other species besides like their own, but like they still have knowledge of, like what Jedi is and have a lot of access to that information is kind of weird.
Well, so early on, it's possible there really is a Jedi temple here for starters. There were Jedi temple throughout the galaxy. We know this is one of the 9 jewels of the Old Republic. That was one of the things we learned in Kim's workshop. is that this
I
is one
love
of the
Kim.
9 jewels of the Old Republic, and we'll get there in a minute. But it's very possible. In fact, I would say very likely that there were Jedi on that planet. It might have been hidden by Jedi.
Why?
We don't know. We have no idea what's going on there. The only reference we've gotten so far is the great work that everybody on this planet seems to be
Growing up to work with that.
working towards the great work. That's like the purpose of everyone on this planet.
Mhm.
So whatever it is,
Yeah, like what is it?
is important, or at least was important. They've been working on it for a really, really long time, apparently.
Yeah.
Do you
And
do you think it's something money related? Because they have like the credits that they have.
well,
Like,
I think
they talk
they're
about how
still.
much
I
value
think
it
they're
has.
literally still minting their own currency, and they're actually
Oh.
because they talk about it being, a mint condition Old Republic credit. So I think they're still making Old
Yeah,
Republic
just they
credits
haven't
on this
changed it
planet.
because there's no what.
Either that, or they just go
Reason.
through so little use on this planet. But they're so inconsequential to them. They're using them for lunch money.
I don't know. It's weird and suspicious.
Well, who do you think's in charge of the planet? Isaac says, "What are the other 8 gems?" So there were 9. It indicates 9 planets that were the gems of the Old Republic. I believe it kind of indicates that the other 8 were destroyed. But I mean, at this point, you go, well, you thought they were all destroyed, but this one's hidden. So
That's true.
there could be others still hidden. So I mean, that could be, an ongoing adventure. And I'm not even totally sure we're not going to go to one of the others.
Mhm.
So we don't know. Ultimately, the early indication, I think, is that they were destroyed, and then this one was hidden.
Yeah.
Why were they destroyed? Do we
Because
not
they
know
were
that either?
important, presumably because they were important to the Old Republic, which leads me to believe they were destroyed by the Sith.
Ah.
So I think they've been around long enough. I think they've been hidden potentially since the Sith, the conflict with the Sith.
That's wild.
So they've been like legit Old Republic. They've been hidden for a very long time. Do you think who's in charge? Do you think the droids are in charge?
There's so many droids like that are in charge, like just in charge of so many droids are in charge of a lot of things already.
We haven't seen anybody we've seen people that are like high level at what they do,
right,
but nobody that seems to have authority yet, except for droids.
I mean,
right.
it makes
That's what I was thinking, because like the droids that were like searching for the people that were searching for the kids were droids and things like that. It's like there's not very many people who have like
right.
Cosmic
So
power.
was it the leader was they calling them the administrator?
Who?
They were going to call the administrator.
Oh.
They wanted the
Yeah.
parents wanted to speak to.
That's kind of maybe. I feel like the leader's either going to be like this AI, but I hope it's not, because a really cool villain would also be cool. So
Yeah. So my speculation is, so this is where we move a little bit into spoiler territory for episode 3, is that I believe that they are that a person or a living being was in charge of whatever was hidden.
Mhm.
We don't really know why they were hidden yet. And my guess is that possibly the Jedi hid the planet as the Sith were destroying the others.
that makes sense.
That seems, at least makes sense. And they may go a completely different way with it, but I'm thinking that someone was in charge of this great work, but they've died a long time ago, and that the robots are just droids are just
like automated. So
they're
just
just
like
automated. They're just continuing the mission.
So like
that
everyone
makes
thinks
That was their programming. That's all they're meant to do. So the droids are just continuing the mission. The mission might have actually been done for years, whatever it is. Or
If so, that's
maybe
kinda
it's just
tragic.
not proceeding as it was supposed to at all. We don't know. But it seems to me that everyone is kept very much in a very strict order by the droids, because the droids were their primary function was
Keep it hidden?
to keep the great work moving
Okay.
forward. So it's not even maybe not even that they are there. So there's this sense on this planet that something's wrong, something's off, and maybe a little sinister, something dark.
Mhm.
It could be that, or it could literally just be that droids have been running this planet. Droids are not caring, right?
I
So
think that's more
these
interesting.
droids are just on mission and expect everyone else to do their job like a droid.
I hope it's either that or something evil's going on, because that's the most interesting.
I think it
thing
has to be
happened.
one of those two things. I think there's either something sinister, something dark.
Mm.
It's also possible that they hid this planet away to try to keep it perfect. Acting like outside, keeping the outside out would keep it good, but maybe somebody at the top has turned bad. Anyway, like,
Yeah.
a movie y'all don't know, but for those of you in the chat, something like The Village, where you go and you create a perfect society and you try to lock out the outside, and then you find out that the outside's not the problem, it's just human nature is the problem. So curious to see where they go there. What do y'all think about the alien, the creature designs?
I love them. I love them so much, especially Kim. When we watched it for the third episode for the first time, me and Adeline were just obsessing over how cool Kim looked.
Right.
It's like owl, cat, something. I don't know.
Yeah. And it appears, the puppeting work is really, really
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
I'm loving the way they're bringing these creatures to life. It feels a lot more.
I feel like in the second episode, the one that I forgot what it was. It was like a small one, and it like took them to the one that was like a Muppet. You know what I'm talking
the
about?
ferryman.
Yeah.
So that is a callback to the Ewok movies.
Oh.
That is at least the same species as a character from one of the Ewok movies.
Never seen them.
They are on the DVD shelf.
Why haven't we watched them? then?
Why haven't we watched them yet?
We will watch them.
We can watch them while Mom's not here.
So we've had callbacks to the Ewok movie. We've had callbacks to the holiday special for some reason. The hologram entertainment that we see, that's directly pulled from the interesting. Isaac, I'd be curious to know why the wolf-headed pirate is your least favorite. I thought that was a good callback to A New Hope with that character.
Why?
And I like the that character, well, not that character, but that species is seen originally in the cantina.
Oh, that's cool.
But back then, the character in the cantina was just like an off-the-shelf Halloween mask.
Oh, that's awesome, actually.
And
That explains the way it
eventually,
looks,
during
actually.
y'all might not have seen that character, because in the special editions, I believe that character was removed for a digital and replaced with a fully CGI character. But I'm really liking the alien species that we know all look good. We've seen a lot of interesting ones, and then we've seen some new ones, or things that we've had references to or glimpses of, like the wolf-headed alien.
Neil's like also looks just really cool as a character. Like
Yeah.
his design is very cute.
And I'm going to be really interested to get some names for some of these things, because we're getting a lot of interesting stuff, but they haven't given us official names. We don't know the name. A lot of people initially thought that Neil was the same species as Max Rebo.
Oh, is he not?
He's not. No, it's a different
It is
species.
another blue thing with
Another
frog.
blue. Yeah,
elephant-ish.
they specifically asked the writer, the director, and he said, yeah, Spencer, it should have been a Bothan, but I don't know if they're ever going to give us Bothans.
What's a Bothan?
Many Bothans died to bring us this information, the plans to the second Death Star.
Vaguely remember this.
It's a line. It's just a throwaway line in Return of the Jedi, that evolved over time in the expanded universe into Bothans being this race of aliens that have a like the best spy network in the galaxy.
I like that idea.
And so, but the trick is we've never seen a Bothan.
I also have no idea what they look like.
Well, we kind of know from like if they stick with what they were. I think we might have had Bothans like in the comics, like the old comics.
Oh,
But we don't really have a live action or even an animated Bothan. So yeah, Bothan would have been cool. Let's see what else. What else did y'all? Any other alien designs you really liked?
wait.
Well, let's back up because we haven't talked about Jod Nanawood at all.
Which one is he the like
He's
pirate
he's
guy?
the
who just-
pirate.
okay,
He
I
was the
didn't-
pirate captain that gets thrown in the brig.
Okay.
And we've learned 3 different names for him so far.
I can never remember his name. That's probably why.
Well, so the name he introduces himself to the kids as is Jod Nanawood. We also hear him called Crimson Jack. That's what Kim calls him,
Yeah.
Crimson Jack. And then
This cool pirate name.
is well, but then he's also I'm gonna forget. He goes by Captain. It's a different name. Captain something that we see him called in the first episode before they get tired of him because they didn't find treasure and they throw him in the brig.
Oh, I don't. What do we call him for convenience?
Jod.
Okay.
So Jod is the only name we've heard him call himself. So for
Okay.
now, we will assume that's his real name.
All right.
I'm not going to be at all surprised if down the road we find out that we still don't actually know his real name.
Okay.
I have a couple theories that I'm not ready to throw out there. I want to see a little more information. He could be he has at least a connection to the Force. We don't know how strong or how powerful he is.
Enough we can make things float a little bit.
But he can make a key float. But that's basic stuff, remember?
Yeah.
Floating rocks. That's
the
basic
101.
Jedi stuff, floating objects. So he can do a little bit with the Force. That's really what we've seen him do so far. We haven't seen him do anything big. But there were a couple of people in the Legends books, adults, that have Force connection that Luke finds and trains,
Ooh.
when he
Yeah.
sets up his academy. And there are a couple of those characters that I kind of like him being one of them. So that will be interesting to see if they go that route or if we're just totally unrelated to any of that. Like there's absolutely no reason at this point to really tie this story to the bigger story, other than the fact that this all is happening at the same time as like the Mandoverse.
They really like that like one era right there, don't
Well,
they?
it's an era that works, and to be honest, it's an era where you can tell new stories to an extent. Unfortunately, the sequel trilogy kind of reins it in a little bit, where
Yeah.
whatever's happening in this time period, you kind of know this big event that's going to happen in 30 years or 20 years, however long it is. But in the meantime, you can tell stories that are not necessarily going to be influenced by another galactic civil war, like on a lost planet that nobody knows about. So this story does not have to connect. Now, if this place ends up being particularly important to the Sith or the Jedi, then it could wind up playing an important role for the bigger story, or maybe just for Luke. Like maybe Luke comes here to learn things.
So I like the idea of it connecting to some extent, but I guess like just like stuff like Marvel where everything connects. And it's such a big galaxy. I kind of like the idea of it being a bit more set apart than
And
that.
that's the thing is like, when you have a bunch of heroes on Earth and Marvel, you can see how they would end up overlapping.
Like I'm alright with
But
some overlapping.
this is a really,
but-
really big galaxy. And so while we can deal with all the same rules in the greater lore, like the stories of the Jedi and the Sith and those things, we don't have to tie every story back to
there's so many possible stories. I think it's kind of restricting to just tie it
Yeah,
all back to one
I
thing.
think that's been a problem that Lucasfilm has had. And I think this story, though I think they will probably tie it back a little bit, I think it'll be sort of loosely. I don't think it's going to be like the story of like what's going on with Mando and all that stuff. The Mandalorians retaking their planet and Mando going back, still out there with Grogu. Those things, I don't think they have to connect to this. Unless there's something really important on that planet to winning the war against Thrawn, the coming war against Thrawn. Well, I mean, it's obviously connected in that it's clearly in the same galaxy. It has the same history. It has the same rules. We see everything in there is pretty Star Warsy. The droids are pretty Star Wars. The alien species. So, I mean, this is obviously a question of. So I think what that question really boils down to, and I think that the jury's still out on this to some extent, although I think Mando and this show so far indicate that it is possible. It's not if it's not connected, it's if a story doesn't have Luke, Han, Leia, our big main characters from the original trilogy, can it survive on its own? I think that's the real question with interconnectivity in the Star Wars universe was how much is the universe the story and how much were those three characters the story?
But how well is connecting everything working so far for them? I mean, like everything with Rey and her having being connected to.
Oh, it's a mess. I mean, the sequel
I
trilogy
preferred
is a
it when
mess.
she was just
Now,
kind
you
of a
could-
character who just doesn't like she isn't important except for she made herself important. I kind of like that idea of that happening with more characters than just the Skywalkers. So I'm definitely okay with them moving away from that to some extent.
Yeah. Maybe he's Palpatine's. Isaac says maybe he's Palpatine's estranged stepbrother that's been in hiding for years. Maybe he's a Palpatine clone that just
Somehow
really didn't have a good
Palpatine's
enough
stepbrother
connection to the
returned.
Force. So let's run through episode 3 real quick before we
Okay.
run out of time. So things I really liked in this episode. So the first we pick up, they just escaped the pirate base. Or do we actually know we escaped the pirate base in this episode, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So-
they crashed the freaking ships
The-
everywhere.
So we see the escape. They get,
Oh, yeah, they're attached to the
Jod used the Force. They get to the ship safely, and then the kids are just refusing to leave without SM-33, and so he kind of
So
just
cute.
to placate them goes back. Like he doesn't really want to. He doesn't like droids.
Yeah, he knows
I
they're
know
not
there's a
gonna
lot of
stay.
I've seen a lot of crazy theories about why he doesn't like droids. And maybe he had an incident that he doesn't like droids, but he's also the right age to have been a child, just like Mando to have been a child.
Well, Mando did
During the
have a
Galact-
thing with droids because of
The
like,
Galactic Civil War.
I thought he had something.
You remember
okay.
the droids?
I was
like,
thinking,
he
I'm getting
is-
my lore confused with other
so
characters.
Mando
sorry.
in season 1 of Mandalorian, we see him saved from a droid from the
That's what I was
Separatist army.
thinking. Yeah.
That's the Separatist army. So I mean, like he grew up in the same time. Like people in this time period are gonna still, some of them are still gonna have issues with droids. And I mean that's very Star Wars. That goes right back to the cantina on in the first Star Wars movie. You know, we don't serve their kind here. So I'm not going to read too much into the fact he doesn't like droids, other than like at this point, other than like, yeah, he grew up at a time where droid armies were used to annihilate a large chunk of the universe. He could have been connected to the Jedi during that Galactic Civil War. He could have been a Padawan or even just a youngling in the temple at that point.
Yeah. Also, in his defense, the droids that we've met in the series so far have not been the friendliest, so you can't really blame him for not liking them too much.
But he goes back. He finds SM-33, brings him back to the ship. We get some cool. We get a cool interaction with Jod and a character Pranic,
Yeah.
Janar Pranic, that he talks
Battle
to.
droid.
Battle droid. Yeah.
Oh, well, so we see the battle droid.
The
We-
single
we-
best part of the entire episode. Can't
Did
forget
we
it.
win? So we see, yeah, we have several interesting interactions with droids where he's turning them on one at a time,
Mhm.
trying to figure out which droid's the right droid because he didn't ask
Yeah.
What does it
kids-
look like?
which droid was theirs before he went in. So he's looking for the droid. He runs into, I think it's Janar Pranic, the character that he runs
That sounds
into
right.
I'm just
that
talking.
says, "Hey, well, let's call the captain and talk
Yeah.
about this." That character was voiced by Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina is Doc Ock
Oh, dang.
in the Spider-Man movies. So,
Which one? Which Spider-Man movies?
well, in the only time we've had Doc Ock,
I don't. I haven't. We haven't watched all of the the
I
one
have-
with.
he's
Andrew
in
Garfield
the Tobey
gets him.
Maguire
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
that makes sense.
movie, and then he was in the
No Way Home.
the No Way Home.
I like
So-
all the-
So that was who voiced, and he's of course been in a ton of stuff, even all the way back to Indiana Jones. So seeing having Alfred Molina in Star Wars is really cool. Jod, we get to see Jod do a little. He's a little Jack Sparrow. He might end up not being
Not
as
quite
good.
as drunk, but
Right, but he might end up not being as good as Jack Sparrow. Jack Sparrow ends up being
just a little weird.
well, he's mostly out for himself, but at the end of the day, he'll do the right thing.
Mhm.
At least for the people he cares about. We don't know if that's Jod yet or not, truthfully, but we see his escape is a little bit Jack Sparrow escaping. That must be the greatest pirate, the best pirate I've ever seen. And so he's tied up on the fuel cables. He drags it all over the place, wraps it around everything, and then
So
just
chaotic.
says, "Let's just go to hyperspace," and wrecks a bunch of stuff. Looks like kills a few people.
Probably, yeah.
it happens
Just, like,
sometimes. No one's
smashes, like, 5
perfect.
ships, probably.
I like
Like-
the scene. To me, that was one of the pacing in this show through 3 episodes has been very, very good. But the pacing of that episode of the first part, the escape,
We did get 2
specifically-
escapes in one episode, which is kind of a lot. But
we did, but did you feel like it went really fast and almost too easy up until, I mean,
Yeah.
we even like feel like Janar Pranic's like, well, I'm gonna, let's call the guards and
I mean, it's kind
and
of like
get to the
skip
bottom of
forward.
this, and we skip everything that happens after that to him just fleeing.
We
and
just assume that he just killed a bunch
Mhm.
of people.
right, so we don't know, who he killed. Like, what he
it
did to
just
get out of there.
happened.
His relationship with the kids is so funny to me because especially with oh my gosh, what's the girl's name?
KB or
Fern or KB?
Fern.
Fern.
Essentially Fern, because I feel like they just
They-
are gonna argue a lot.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So they're interesting, and I really like when after they escape in this, they're in hyperspace, and the other 3 kids are asleep.
Mhm.
The other 3 kids do one of the most kid things ever. Her Fern does. I'm not tired. And then it cuts to
Definitely.
her like passed out. So every one of y'all have done that at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not tired. And then it's like,
Yeah, go to
oh,
bed,
you're
you're like-
snoring. But KB is the one sitting up and kind of confronts him,
Mhm.
about, the likelihood of you being a Jedi is very small. The food scene. Yes,
Yeah.
Isaac, the food scene was very good
just like staring at the food the entire time, like
while he's eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just eating, and like
The rest on the stove.
he's not their parent, and he's
I feel like he's about to accidentally adopt a bunch of kids. I feel like this keeps on happening in all the good Star Wars stuff lately, like Mandalorian, where they accidentally, oh no, I guess I have children now. Okay,
right. Yeah, except they still have parents to go back to.
that's true.
Yeah.
Double parents.
So I really like the arrival. Do you remember the name of the moon where Kim is? Did it tell
No.
us the name of the moon?
Why
Possibly.
does Kim's name have like 6 names?
I love that it's Kim in the most unlikely way
With
that
the-
you
with
would
the-
ever spell Kim.
Asterisk,
That-
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like comments at the shop.
So I know y'all liked Kim. What did y'all think about that whole thing though? The whole scene, the her
I
workshop,
want to go to the
all the
space
information, like
observatory,
all the
please.
old maps and charts.
crazy.
And
It's
there is an awful lot of stuff hidden there. People are still
so
finding
many
things,
Easter eggs, I
little
bet.
yeah. And so John Watts, the guy that made this, that's like the main creator of this show, is the same guy that did the 3 Spider-Man movies for Marvel in the MCU. And so he has always been known for hiding lots of Easter eggs. And so that place, the ship too, I'm sure.
Him being a Spider-Man movie guy makes a lot of sense when you like look at it.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
good because I love the Spider-Man movies. So
Right. Well, it's got that tone, and it's like, where some of the other Spider-Man movies kind of didn't really allow Peter to be a kid very much, where his movies have kind of let Peter be a kid at
letting
times.
him literally play with Legos and things.
Right. So I think that he's doing a really good job with this show. I really like Kim. We don't really know exactly what she does other than she knows a lot about old planets and
Mhm.
charts and
She's very old.
do what?
I wonder how old she is.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And then we heard,
I'm sorry.
so is she eccentric? Well, when she first gets there, we hear other voices, but we only meet her.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I thought she was on the call with someone.
Well, it sounds like that's the way, yeah. But we don't see her during that. So is she having a conversation with herself?
Oh,
If she's there alone, is she just eccentric and having this conversation by herself, or were there other?
I feel like the second
feel like-
possibility where other people were there
I feel like
makes more sense.
I feel
But
like both work.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she isn't incredibly mentally sound.
You mean not incredibly?
Yeah,
memorized?
Yeah,
said
you
if
know
she
what I
isn't
meant.
So
It's late-ish.
is there
so-
anything that y'all really jumped out to y'all that y'all really enjoyed about that scene?
Well, her character design was taking over a lot of it for me. But I like the background a lot, like everything that was going on, and just like when it's moved around, like the
Mhm.
observatory, it was so cool.
Yeah, like
It's just okay. Isaac says it's just called the Observatory
Oh,
Moon.
nice.
So,
I want to go to it because I'm recently becoming slightly obsessed with space, and so I would like to go to
Yes.
the observatory moon on
Um,
vacation, please.
I love the shot. There's some beautiful shots in this show. Just it's technically very, very well done. I think that this show really establishes a new standard for what Star Wars should look like on TV.
yeah. I also
Like
really,
this is near movie quality, if not movie quality, on the small screen.
I really
Some of the other shows haven't stacked up to this. There are things in the Acolyte that look good. There are things in the Acolyte that look bad. Mandalorian mostly looks very good, but it was very early in the use of the volume technology. And so there are times where the volume technology sticks out. But I feel like everything is getting better and better and better. And of course, bringing in a very experienced director to run this show instead of somebody with almost no experience like they did on the Acolyte is going to make a big difference in that.
Yeah.
I really like the way the scene is like shot. It's like the way like the camera moves around the room. Like
Yes.
it looks
Yeah, and that's what I'm
shot
talking
really
about.
cool.
There's a lot of the camera movement is very, very nice. I love that we're getting a lot of combination of wide shots, close shots. I love the shot of Jod and the kids walking across the surface of the moon.
Yes.
with the planet.
silhouette.
Yeah, the silhouette with the planet
Yes.
in the background,
So cool.
silhouetting them.
And then they're
that's-
running on the way back. It's the
I-
same shot that they're running.
That's definitely a callback to some of the Amblin stuff. I can't really in similar things from the 80s. I can't decide if that's more of a I can't decide if that's more of a nod to Elliot and E.T. flying in front of the moon on the bike, or if it's a callback to the movie Stand By Me, which y'all don't know, but had featured some similar walking shots
One
like
of my
that.
favorite video games has one of those silhouette shots in it. It's so cool.
The X-Wings, what y'all think about the X-Wings?
That was so cool.
I-
They looked awesome. Like
Cannot really remember what they look like. I'm gonna be honest here.
So the X-Wings look good. It appears to be more Blue Squadron. It's just not the pilots we've met, which I think is good. As much as I would really like the
It's kind of
X-Wing-
crazy if they were just like everywhere.
well, we can't have the same X-wing pilots show up to every major
I mean,
event,
I think
right?
it would be kind of
Yeah.
funny if they were the only like 5 X-wing pilots in
Yeah.
the galaxy.
Now,
It was
Part
just
of
those
me
guys.
kind of hoped it would be Zeb, but part of me is okay that they're really not leaning into cameos. That we're out here, we're doing a new thing, and where we didn't have to have one of the X-wing pilots we've already met show up. As we talked about earlier in the show, I know the escape from the X-wings is one of my favorite parts. I love that Neil is flying. He takes Fern and
Trying.
Wim to put them in the gunner turrets. And
I like how he's like, okay.
Yeah, Fern is like,
yeah,
she's like
so
arguing
Fern,
with him,
she's kind of arguing, and he's like, this does
And then
this,
puts
this, and
down
this.
puts down,
And then
Wim's
she's
and-
off, and then she puts down Wim's.
and he's in.
Yeah, Wim just
Gone.
gets in and is gone. He doesn't even like give any instructions.
Like,
Wim's so
smile.
excited, he's just like, go.
Go, put me in the gunner place.
Well, and that's the only thing, Spencer, is like we've talked about not
Space Pirates
seeing.
and Haunt, that'd be cool.
It's like
Yeah.
if
Oh, wait,
if you were ever gonna do Hondo in live action, in fact, two characters that make a tremendous amount of sense because they're both pirates are Maz Kanata and Hondo.
Oh,
I want Hondo now.
Yeah.
Wait, it's awesome.
Well, we did see a ship that looked like Hondo's at the pirate port.
yeah. That's
Oh,
what
we
I knew I recognized that ship. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
why
So there
I
is a
recognized
ship there that is either the same type of ship or it's was meant to be Hondo's ship. That might be the only nod we get to Hondo in this, but
I'm okay with there at least being that, honestly.
it would be a little bit of
I
a
miss him.
shame.
I forgot about him.
I mean, I think we're going to get some sort of battle with the pirates. So that's when it's going to be interesting to see who else shows up. So do we get a battle
Uh.
between pirates? Do we get just pirates versus some New Republic? Does Ad-Atten have a defense system that we don't know about? Like, what is we're going to have a fight at some point involving the pirates. I think either that or the pirates just manage to follow them to wherever they're going and they have a Goonies-esque escapade of.
I'd have to watch the Goonies. Dad. We never watched the Goonies.
You've seen the Goonies. You just don't
When?
remember it.
But this doesn't count then.
Well, I know, but you've seen the Goonies. But we will watch the Goonies. Maybe we can watch the Goonies this week. But is there anything else? So we've gone a little long here. So because we were talking about 3 episodes, I probably didn't get in everything I wanted to get in about episode 3. But episode 4 is tomorrow. That's our halfway point on the series. I'm really, really excited. This is the first series in a little while, probably since Mando, that I've just been like, when it drops, I want to be sitting there to watch it.
Yeah.
Is this one the Diddy's saying like Marvel and Star Wars both? This is one of the only things recently that I've been like really interested in actually watching.
This has been a very, very fun show. And that's what I've been saying. If you've watched our channel at all, while I think things like Andor have been good, they're lacking a lighthearted element that is what made Star Wars Star Wars. So even a lot of Mando does it. Mando used Grogu very well to deliver lighthearted moments.
We love Grogu.
But maybe not so much as this one. This one feels like a very natural successor to something like Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So this has been a ton of fun. Y'all both said it's one of your favorite things outside of Rebels, which is, some people will kind of balk at that because Rebels is animated, and some people automatically put animated on a lower tier than live action. But understand that for them, Rebels is their Star Wars in a lot of ways, and to put this show up there with Rebels that's big for y'all to do
Definitely.
that. So And for me, like I'm kind of wrestling with it. Mando season 1 and 2 are so good. Mando season 3 even doesn't deserve a lot of the hate it gets. Mando season 3 is fine. It's a different show than season 1 and season 2, and I've maintained for a long time if they had just called it Return to Mandalore or something other than Mandalorian season 3.
Slightly Mandalorian based show.
Well, it was a lot of people didn't take kindly to the fact that Bo-Katan basically
Became the main character.
becomes not for the whole
Kind of.
time, but for a little while, kind of becomes a main character. And people are like this, and so
Just has
it's
the energy,
totally
you
it's Mandalorian was mostly this like fetch quest adventure. It was kind of like playing through a video
Let's
game.
say the embodiment of side quests.
Yeah, and it's a side quest where we're going from quest to quest to quest in hopes of finding Grogu's people, right? So that was the quest through the first 2 seasons. Well, when that ended, they kind of go
Well,
off.
they made a Mandalorian video game. Wait, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, but
Because you basically said it's already like a video
well,
game.
Mandalorian season 1 and 2 progresses like a video game, and season 3 was just kind of a different thing. I didn't mind a lot of things about the finale. There were a few things I could have done without. I'm a little torn on the like tying it all to the cloning stuff. Live action Mythosaur, I still think that's coming eventually. If Dave Filoni has his way, we will eventually see that Mythosaur in live action. I firmly believe that. So we'll see where they go. But this Star Wars this is something new, and I'm not willing to put an incomplete series above a series that I really like.
I hope it stays good.
But 3 episodes in, this series could wind up being my favorite Star Wars series, which I was hopeful about this series from the start. But to sit here 3 episodes in and say this might be my favorite Star Wars series seems kind of crazy. Like I didn't expect it to be that good, but 3 episodes in, here we are. I'm loving this show. Do y'all have any last thoughts before we wrap up? Anything you didn't get to talk about yet, or anything you kind of hope to see tomorrow night?
Can't really think of anything. Just hope it stays good and sticks the landing.
Yeah.
Please.
What about you, Adeline?
No, I don't really have anything.
Wait, that comment.
EA was going to make a Mandalorian video game, but canceled it in favor of making a strategy game instead. Now, I am.
Can someone make a fan game real quickly?
If the strategy game that you're talking about is the one I think it is, that game, if it's the turn-based game, is being made by some of the absolute biggest names in turn-based gaming. I'm super excited about that, but it is a little bit of a shame that we're not going to get a Mandalorian game. But at the same time, it doesn't get as much press as Star Wars movies and TV getting canceled. I don't even remember the number of canceled shows and movies for Star Wars is just off the charts at this point. But it's easy to overlook that it's true of games as well. They have canceled an awful lot of games, including what was supposed to be the next big Star Wars FPS that Respawn was supposed to be making. So the people that made Apex Legends which is one of the best FPS games out there right now mechanically. It's got a cheater problem, but I think all the games have that. But mechanically, it doesn't come a whole lot better than Apex Legends. I was really excited about them making a Star Wars shooter, but they axed that. So I don't even know what games are still coming. But that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. We're right at an hour. So we will be back tomorrow, hopefully with a pre-show before the game. Before the show starts, before it drops. And that'll be short. We'll jump on and talk for 15, 20 minutes leading up to the show. I will likely have guests joining me for that. And then about 9 o'clock, after the show has had a chance, people have had a chance to watch, we will jump on and do like a 15-minute non-spoiler review with whichever guest decide to join me there. But that's going to do it for tonight. So until next time, guys, may the force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.